It's scummy. It's really scummy what they did. It's a really scummy deal what they did. But with that, it is the it set the new record for most amount of people being let go by the company at one time, breaking the July 2005 record, which was the one that seen Rhino, the Dudleys, all basically jump to total nonstop action wrestling and become kind of major players over there for the next 5 years or so, and kind of give that company somewhat of a chance to compete with WWE towards the end of the 2000s or so. And I was on national radio on Thursday morning after it had happened, and I basically stated that this is a move that we are going to hear reverberations of 5 years from now, because this is probably the biggest talent, I guess, I don't want to say bloodletting, but it's the biggest talent dispersal we've seen in quite some time. And no doubt that there's going to be one or two of these guys or girls in this group that are going to go on and be major stars elsewhere.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, no doubt about it.
With the amount of people they let go, yeah, there's going to be one or two of them that's going to shine in either New Japan or AEW or that stuff. So
there'll be some guys we'll never see again. There's be some guys that will work the small indies. Some guys will get jobs with bigger indie companies. Some will get Japan jobs. Some will get AEW jobs, Ring of Honor jobs, TNA jobs, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. Some will return to WWE at one time.
That's right. So with that being said, we it's something that I played around in my mind. Should we do this? Should we not do this? Whatever. But I figured it's a pandemic. It's fun. It's not fun outside. Let's have some fun on the webs. Let's speculate where these people will end up or be within the next 1 or 2 years or so. So Moorhouse has a list, as he always does, of the talent that got let go. And I'll just let him read off the names, and we'll kind of debate what promotion we'd like to see them in, or what promotion they're going to end up in. So,
all right, we'll start with the biggest name on the list.
Go for it.
We'll start with No Way Jose and where he's going to end up in.
No Way Jose will end up doing a bit of an indie run, I think, once the indies open back up. I know that there's probably a few inquiries for him to do some independent things, much like there was for Adam Rose after he got let go. Whether he ends up in a major promotion or not will be up to him. I think he's young enough to end up in a place like Impact or Ring of Honor under a similar gimmick, but maybe not the same. But this also allows him to kind of reinvent the character a little bit too. So we may see him down the line. He's young enough that I think we'll see him down the line somewhere doing something. But I think immediately, we'll see him cash in on the No Way Jose thing, because that gimmick is tailor-made for a mid-card or upper mid-card comedy break at a indie show type match where you can put him in with the biggest heel in your independent company and Jose get the win, and everybody has a party, fun time atmosphere.
No, I agree. I think he's going to be... he'll have a name change. He might have more of a serious character.
Yep.
I actually see him going down to Puerto Rico, maybe.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Working with the Colons.
Yep.
I can see him maybe refining. He might still have a fun gimmick, but it won't be anywhere as goofy as the WWE version of it.
Mm-hmm. What else you got?
1 second here. I'm just trying to organize a bit better. How do I make a new note? There we go. Okay. And I lost my list.
This part will not make the video.
Oh, come on. This is great TV.
Great TV.
That's the one thing about the pandemic that I'm kind of okay with, is a lot of the YouTube guys I watch do their self-owned videos. So there's not going to be really any change to that.
Well, here's the thing that I kind of love is for the past decade or so, I've been creating content from my house. So, and I know that people that I work with in the broadcast industry and that stuff have kind of scoffed at that a little bit and laughed at it. It's like, well, look at you now. Where are you broadcasting from? You're broadcasting from your garage, aren't you?
And I don't have to change a thing.
Exactly. So I love that.
unless the government tells you, oh, you can't be home anymore, everyone has to go to work.
Could you imagine? Oh my god. Ugh.
All right, next on our list is let's just go random. I'm just gonna pick random names and
go for it.
Go with that. So we're gonna go with Ethan Carter III.
Okay, so I can group this together with Drake Maverick as well, because I see them either going to AEW or back to Impact. So if they go back to Impact, they already have a huge legacy there. Ethan Carter III, EC3, is a former Impact World Champion over there. Rockstar Spud is Drake Maverick is a well-known mid-card heel from his days as basically Dixie Carter's lackey over there. I think both of them could show up at an Impact taping, and all of a sudden they'd be back to as a heel manager client duel. I think that they would be top, like, upper card for them. I think they'd be main eventing like Slammiversary or Bound for Glory or something, or whatever. I'm just trying to think who their current champion is over in Impact. Well, it's Tessa, isn't it?
It's Tessa still, yeah.
It's still Tessa. So yeah, I think you could have a lot of fun with Tessa as a face versus, full-on heel Ethan Carter III and Rockstar Spud as his manager. I think that would be, that's perfect. And you can move Sami Callihan down the card with, somebody else if you want to, and kind of work off of that. That's if they go to Impact. If they go to AEW, I can see them doing much the same thing, except that they'll be more mid-card. I think that I could see them potentially... I could see Ethan Carter being potentially Sean Spears' tag team partner. And, they bring in Maverick, Spud, whatever, as, Carter's manager again. And, Tully Blanchard can basically say, hey, I brokered a deal. This is a winning operation. The Horsemen were a winning operation that, yes, there was one mind, but there were 5 people that were trying to make this thing work. So, therefore, I'm bringing in, a guy with a manager to make this thing work, and, let them go after the tag titles. Let them go after, maybe that's the team that goes after, once this all opens up, Omega and Hangman and the AEW tag titles, right? So, there's a ton of options there, but I think that EC3's options are best, with Spud, with Drake Maverick, and the same with Maverick. I think there's a ton of chemistry there as, again, a heel manager client combination.
That's I mean, you put a lot more thought into that than myself.
I've had a couple of days to think about this stuff. So
for me, EC3, I mean, he's done everything in TNA, but again, that could be his home, Impact Wrestling. Yeah. He might go there for a year or two, and before he decides what to do next. Mm-hmm. He can easily run as the best number 1 heel there with no issues.
Yep.
For me, Drake Maverick, I would love to see him and Marco Stunt get into a little thing.
Oh, that'd be fun.
I'd love Drake to be the bully to Marco Stunt, yes, even though he's just a short guy too.
Yeah,
but he's a few inches taller.
And they could have their blow off at the House of Hardy, because we've know that Drake Maverick, Rockstar Spud, has had history with Broken Matt Hardy in the past as well. So that's another way. I didn't even think about that arc. That would be fun too. See, so endless options with those guys. Those guys there, endless options for sure. That's another thing. So. Next
on our list, here's an easy 2 guys we can decide. Primo and Epico.
Oh, okay. So the former, the Colones, the former...
the Colones, the
Los Matadores. Yeah.
The El Matadores. I think they came back once as, like... Didn't they have a gimmick where they were just angry about white America?
That's right, yeah. Yeah, for a while. We hadn't seen them on WWE TV for a while, so I don't think they'll end up back in WWE, obviously. I think the indies in North America will probably be, if they make any appearances at all, where they are. I think that, it's Puerto Rico or bust with them. I think that they'll probably end up doing some stuff down there, or, maybe the southern the southeast states, like like a fly into Florida to run some indies or something like that. But I don't really see them doing much in the top 5 promotions at all.
Agreed. I mean, all their parents or brothers are all in Puerto Rico, so they're going to get over there.
Now watch. We said that they're going to show up in World Tag League at the end of the year or something like that with New Japan. And
I was going to say, I could see him going to like a company like DDT or someone, the smaller Japanese company.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't really. I mean, their name recognition is not that powerful.
Yeah. No. I mean, like they're enough of a thing to where you bring them in and it'd be like, okay, yeah, I remember those guys, but other than that, that's it. So.
Next, we have the man who carried a spider in his cage for 4 or 5 months.
And who eventually got the spider squished by the guy who's the current top rising WWE champion on Raw, Drew McIntyre, Mr. Eric Rowan. I think with Rowan, there is the temptation for AEW to bring him in and immediately put him with the Dark Order, but I don't think that would be good. I think that you want to try and make Brody Lee his own entity now, as kind of this version of Vince almost, kind of a parody of Vince himself, and then on top of it, like I guess an L. Ron Hubbard that kicks ass. If that makes sense. Because the Dark Order is essentially Scientology. I'm sorry, folks. That's what it is. With Rowan, maybe Impact, maybe Ring of Honor. Depends on if the drive's there with him. I wouldn't be surprised to see him kind of step out of the industry for a while and maybe just refocus, because he's got his hands in a lot of other stuff too. Like his Instagram is a lot of fun to follow and that stuff, and he's got a lot of things happening on the West Coast, like in Oregon and in Washington State and everything.
I think he does a lot of the strongman competitions.
He does too, yeah. So
if he does wrestling, I would love to see him in All Japan, not New Japan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, okay. All Japan needs more Gaian guys, because they only have the one right.
Yeah.
So he could definitely be more of a Stan Hansen type of fighter over there.
He definitely could. I mean, that's a spot where heck, Albert went over there and he came back as Giant Bernard, right? So, or Lord Tensai, I guess is what it was, and it worked for a few months until Cena killed him off. But hey, there we go. But that's the deal. All right, cool. So.
Next, we have Zack Ryder.
Okay, so Ryder, if there is any guy who would be destined for AEW in some way or form, it would be Zack Ryder, because him and Cody are buddies. Him and Justin Roberts are buddies. He has a lot of people that
Jericho. I think him and Jericho are buddies too.
Jericho is buddies with him and that stuff. I think it's Matt Cardona is his shoot name, his real name. I think him and Brian Myers may look at maybe doing their own stuff for a little bit, but I think that you could probably group them in and bring them back in if AEW needed a babyface tag team that would be a surprise to take on like a heel tag team champions at a show or something like that eventually, or something, and get a real decent pop from the crowd. But I think that Matt, aka Zack Ryder, is definitely destined for AEW, because I mean his girlfriend worked All In because Zack Ryder was contracted with WWE. If this would have happened 2 or 3 years ago, Zack Ryder would have been on that All In card. So.
Though you got to remember, without Zack Ryder, without his YouTube creations 10 years ago, there would be no in the Elite. There would be no AEW.
That's right. Yeah, there would be no just no social media, whatever, online.
Wrestlers. He opened the door for wrestling to have web content.
Yep, exactly. So yeah. So I've like I said there, and I mean we might as well knock him off too, because they were so closely related here. Brian Myers, he runs the Creative Pro Wrestling Factory in New York. Such talent as Chris Statlander has come out of that school, and she's got a huge run happening with AEW. So I would think that Brian will go back to. I think definitely goes back to doing that, running the school.
Could he be a road agent maybe with AEW? Turn into a road agent?
Maybe. I mean, it depends again on the drive and what these guys want to do and that stuff. And I think, like I said, I think the money's there for Cardona and Myers to come in as a babyface tag team if you have Santana and Ortiz as your, tag champs or something like that, or some heel faction or something, or if they finally split Omega and Hangman and whoever are the new tag champs or something like that. Let's say, for the purpose of speculating, it's Hangman and, I don't know, Shawn Spears as your tag champs in a year from now or something like that. I think that could be, like they walk out and do a gimmick like, we've beat all the teams here, we're awesome, we're the best team in AEW, what can we do, right? And that's when you bring them in. But you save them for a pay-per-view. You don't bring them in on a Dynamite or something like that. You get the best spot possible on a pay-per-view.
And you call them the Edgeheads just for fun.
Just for fun, sure.
Yeah, because they never got to use that name. Yeah. Next we have Kurt.
Kurt Angle.
Mr. Kurt Angle.
Mr. Kurt Angle, yeah. Well, I think he'll definitely end up back in Impact doing like a Legends thing or something with them. I think that if they do like a Legends Hall of Fame induction, he's already in the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame, I think. But I think they can definitely bring him in to induct like a Ken Shamrock or something, or if they wanted to, if Shamrock's not involved in it or something. Or maybe you talk to him and say, hey, I know you're retired and that stuff. Would you like to have one last match with Ken Shamrock in Impact?
Ooh, ankle lock
there
match.
You go. I mean, there's that option, right?
Yeah.
Both
ankle
guys.
Lock on a pole.
Yeah, both guys are. Shamrock is working like a TV taping deal with them and that stuff. But I think they're trying to do like a similar storyline with him that they did with Kurt Angle and Baron Corbin last year going into WrestleMania, kind of getting him one final run, one good run. I think it would be a no-brainer that you just book, like for Bound for Glory, Kurt Angle versus Ken Shamrock, and ankle lock versus ankle lock. You can fantasy warfare it for a few weeks and that stuff, and then when it comes time for the match, hey, give them 10 minutes, let them do their thing, and that's it. Yep.
Well, myself, I think Kurt's gonna take some time off. He doesn't need wrestling. Wrestling needs him.
Yeah. That's another thing too. I mean, like, he can definitely take some time off, I would say. He deserves it. He definitely is. And I mean, like, he's retired as in-ring. I have no idea what he was still doing being employed by the company outside the ring. Maybe just as like an agent or a kind of a consultant type role. Was that what it was? Or
I was a producer consultant. I know he was doing the mall gigs. He was handing out protective gear for teenagers who are looking to be, sexually active.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever works, I guess. Sure.
I'm joking.
The free eyes? Okay.
The 3 eyes,
I thought you had it in. I was like, all right. Because Kurt is weird enough that he would do that, right? Kind of like the...
Hey, Kurt, can you go to the mall and talk about safe sex?
Yeah.
Heck yes.
I mean, like I said, I would love to see Kurt in Impact again for one final run in Impact and just, have him go head-to-head with Shamrock. Just for one of the big pay-per-views. That would be... And then, he could go back to hanging out with the kids on the couch or whatever, doing what Kurt Angle does. So,
I think he adopts a lot of children from what I've heard, too.
Good for him. Right on.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
He is a good guy.
Next we have, these two are pretty obvious where you're going to head, but we got the Scott Dawson Dash Wilder.
So this was a release that was before the releases.
Only a couple days before.
Only a couple days before. And we saw basically the reason why they were released. It's been revealed their creative that they would have had upon this return here had everything gone to plan and there was a Mania in Tampa and that stuff. The rumor has it is that I've heard that they were going to debut on SmackDown with this really weird gimmick like the week after Mania, which would have been this kind of comedic, I don't know what it is.
I think they would have been accident prone. That was the gimmick.
basically, to explain it, I mean, like, I might find I might find a picture and just pop it up here of what it was. But it looks like somebody's create a wrestler gear from like the 2K games. But if you were going to like dress the Revival up as like, Macho Man Savage from the WCW era or something, or mix him up with like Spanky Kendrick from like '09 or whatever. It was just I can't really explain it. It's just more like a rave bro type gimmick, if it makes sense.
And part of me thinks that was done on purpose to bury him so they wouldn't have a lot of respect.
Absolutely, yeah. This was, they were going to be done within a year anyway. Just bury them for the rest of their contract, and then they're not useful for us. So, and I think I know what your speculation is, and I'd be dumb not to go with it. Yeah, eventually for sure AEW, because
they're going to Jacksonville.
They've always teased that match with the Young Bucks. They want that match with the Young Bucks. And right now, AEW is the promotion where the Young Bucks are. So, I mean, hell, they run the tag team division in the promotion. So, I think once this is all done, it's not going to be right away, but I think once this is all done and we're back to some semblance of getting, large groups of people or even moderate groups of people together in buildings to watch pro wrestling again and that stuff, I think that we might see Cash and Dax now, I guess is what they're calling
Dax and Cash, yeah.
Dax and Cash are going to be hitting up whatever AEW major pay-per-view it is and coming in, as a tag team. I don't know how you would do it. I'm not sure if it would be a thing where you'd bring them in with a manager or without a manager. No, I don't believe that Cornette is going to come in. I'm sorry, not in AEW. There might be a chance of something like that happening if like they move to do an indie. Yeah, if they do like an NWA round of tapings or something like that in between, I think you could probably see them do that, and then everybody gets their fantasy out of the way of saying, hey, Jim Cornette, coaching these new kids who are doing an old school tag team gimmick with the satin jackets and whatever, and then those guys move on to AEW and blah, on and on. So
yeah, you gotta remember, Corny and Cody and Kenny and the Bucks hate each other.
There's a lot of there's a lot of vitriol on the management side of AEW towards Jim Cornette, and basically anybody who supports Cornette's, I guess, the cult of Cornette or whatever they call it, just with that mentality is what pro wrestling is supposed to be. And a lot of people are like, no, that's not what it is. So,
come on, we gotta bring back the Midnight Express. That's the best wrestling, motherfucker.
It gets kind of. I'll limit this rant here for a quick second, because I know we got a few more names to get down on this list. But this rant here, it was a fun shtick, but I'm getting tired of it right now. I am just burnt out of Corny walking out on his podcast and whatever and just saying, hey, the new school wrestling and I got this hate for XYZ and that stuff, and no, it's not good, and that's not, whatever. I mean, if you want to wax nostalgic about the old days, wax nostalgic about the old days. But I mean, like, that's we're gone. The old days are gone. Sorry, Brian Last and Jim Cornette. Move on. Well, I mean, I love Brian. I love what he does, but it just gets a little much at times. So,
and he also feeds Cornette.
Yes, yeah. Well, he's doing what a good co-host should do, is feed their, I feed you, so there we go.
All right, so we have a sad one next. We have the Canellises.
Okay, yeah, this was a real sad one because I think Maria was still on her maternity leave for the second, I think it's their second child they had. Yeah. Mike, of course, his struggles over the past year have been well documented. No need to revisit those. However, there are two promotions in which the Canellises were actually free promotions, which the Canellises were red hot prior to signing with the WWE, and I think that they could easily go back to any of them. And what I think is, I think that they'll definitely pop up on the indies when the time is right. I think they'll definitely pop up in Impact for a run, or a pay-per-view build-up or something. Ring of Honor maybe, but that's outside.
Well, they used to do they could join the Kingdom again.
So here's where I was going. I would love, because I didn't think that this had enough play when it was over there the first time. New Japan Pro Wrestling, bring Matt Taven and Mike Kanellis in as the Kingdom. Maria Kanellis is their valet, and let them just be, don't put them with any faction or anything. They are just heels. Let them just be heels on the mid card and just screw up matches and come in and just terrorize that card.
Yeah.
And then you can decide which faction you're going to put them with, or maybe they start their own or something, or whatever. But I think that New Japan would be awesome with them both, and then I think that with the working arrangement that Ring of Honor still has with New Japan, I think that you could easily get Taven in, and that gives Taven a little bit more direction and that stuff. So I mean, that's falling back on stuff that works, but you could fall back easily on stuff that works, and that's it. And heck, if they go to Ring of Honor too, I mean, you'll have a feud where you could have Kanellis and Taven go head to head, where, okay, we left you the Kingdom and look what you did to it, type thing, and then that's maybe what you do. But that only lasts for so long, and that's something. I'm thinking that they were overtly over a few years ago, about 5 or 6 years ago, when they did that initial run in New Japan. I think it's because they were working with Anderson and Gallows for most of it, but that was the infamous infatuation with Maria storyline that Anderson had, and that stuff, and just every match that they were, it was always just all of a sudden he'd get like deer in the headlights and just and then he'd start doing like the little salsa dance and whatever, and it really was some of Anderson's most entertaining stuff, so I'd love to see him in New Japan, but that's just me. But
no, I totally see it. Yeah, they have a lot of options. Actually, I think this is going to be good for Mike, because he definitely felt creatively trapped in WWE.
Yeah, and this is another thing too, is that you can even do that. I don't see them really in AEW at this point. I think that their money is elsewhere. I think their money really is with that Impact, Ring of Honor, and definitely I think there's money with New Japan with those guys. So, and girls.
Speaking of New Japan, Anderson and Gallows.
I think it's already happening, man. I think if you look at Anderson's Twitter account, he's already, teased that he's flying to Tokyo as soon as they get the all clear to come in. And I think that this is going to be interesting to see what happens. I think that the Good Brothers are showing back up in the Bullet Club, and I don't think they're going to be happy with how Mr. Jay White has been running things over there.
You just read my mind. I was thinking of a Carl versus Jay feud as soon as you start.
I think so. I think that's going to be what happens, because I think that they've watched from afar, and I think that we're going to get again the Bullet Club OGs versus maybe a splinter group of Jay White and maybe his loyalists.
Jay and Gato and Jado.
Yeah, and then whoever maybe defects out of whoever they have on the Bullet Club side, maybe an El Phantasmo sides with Jay White, because that's his guy or something, or or an Ishimori decides to side with Jay White because that's the guy who initially brought him in and that stuff. And I think then the question is, what happens with the leadership? What happens with the deal with Kenta? I think maybe that's who the Good Brothers side with as the leader of Bullet Club. Maybe to say, well, no, Kenta's got, the track record. We're siding with him. This is going to make for what happened with those guys getting released. All of a sudden has made one of the big storylines going into Wrestle Kingdom weekend for 2021, and it's going to be amazing if they can get that dome show off. I think that they're going to build something pretty cool, and I think like Wrestle Kingdom 2021 and New Year's Dash the night after is going to be just bonkers. They're going to do something big. It's like they've loaded the atomic bomb into the Enola Gay, and now they're just flying over. Yeah.
Bullet Club Civil War 2.
Yes, and this time they're going to pull it off. That's the thing, is that, don't forget, Bullet Club Civil War 1 was supposed to be Kenny and Young Bucks as the Elite versus, and maybe with Cody as well.
Versus Bad Luck and the Gorillas.
Yeah, the Gorillas, exactly, for basically leadership of it. And they never pulled it off because immediately, Tony Khan signed him for AEW.
Yeah, so they were just kicked out of the group.
Yeah, so they just, it just wrapped up with a bunch of squash matches at Wrestle Kingdom that year, which was kind of sad, but,
But yeah, I'm looking forward to. I think I can also see Luke and Carl going to AEW as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
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 Just as because AEW tag team scene is hot. Like it's probably the best tag team scene in wrestling right now.
Feed the trolls on the internet thinking, oh, working relationship between New Japan and AEW. Look at this.
No, we know the truth.
Switchblade Jay White's going to show up at Double or Nothing. Oh,
and he doesn't.
No, exactly.
Next, we have a guy who I think this is the end of the road, and that is Aiden English.
I think so too. I honestly think that he can get a job though as a color commentator with any of the smaller indies, especially in the Northeast. I mean, that's a guy that could probably fit in with like a group like Chikara as a color guy, or a AIW or whatever, or anything in the Chicago area basically. But hey, him and Shaul Guerrero are married. They've got their lives ahead of them and that stuff. Yeah, I mean, this is a guy that probably could set aside the wrestling business for a little bit and then go on. Maybe you see him down the line in the Ring of Honor, I would think. Him and Simon Grimm maybe re-tagging together, doing that. I think the only way that they would get even a sniff at AEW is that if the Bucks think that him and Simon Grimm have any chemistry with Leva still, because that was the best iteration of the Vaudevillains, I think, in WWE.
The only problem is there wouldn't be any we got the Vaudevillains, and people would be like...
It'd be a moderate pop at best. Yeah, it'd be a very moderate pop at best. So, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, he's got his own deal now, too, with the blog with the whiskey tasting and stuff like that. So, I mean,
he doesn't need wrestling at all.
No, he doesn't. If he shows up in a Ring of Honor, cool. I mean, that'd be about the size. Maybe a Ring of Honor. I don't know if Impact would take a run at him or not. Again, it might be a deal where they might bring him in as like a mystery tag team thing with Simon Grimm or something, and that's.
But it'd be a one-time appearance.
That would be it. But that's basically it. So.
Yeah, and the pop, he wouldn't his pop is like, oh yeah, I remember him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were good ones anyway.
And here's another guy that I think's also hit the end of his road, and that's Eric Young.
Yeah, sadly. However, I think that with EY getting the release, I think Impact is a no-brainer for him. I think he goes back to Impact, and I think now they could really treat him, as a legend over there. Maybe they give him the Impact Hall of Fame induction. Maybe he has a couple of strong feuds with the young kids on that roster.
A producer, I think.
Definitely a producer role. I'd love to see EY and Ace Austin tear it up. I think that both of them could put together a really entertaining program. Just because I find that Ace works his best with established talent. It's been proven with that. And I think that, I think Impact would be where he goes. I mean, that's it. I think that's home for him. I mean, D'Amore is the guy who brought him into the business, and he's one of the guys running Impact right now. So
true. Young's been there. He's been WWE for 5 years. Everything else has been TNA.
Fair enough.
So that's his home.
Yeah.
Here's a guy who's I've seen on Twitter. He's more than excited and happy to test the indies for the first time in his life, and that's Heath Slater.
Yes. Yeah, he seems like he is going into this with a really awesome mindset, and that's good for Heath. I think that's a guy that you could see from anywhere from the NWA to Hollywood to wherever.
NWA, yeah.
I think him and NWA would be amazing with that group of people that they got. I think that you put him in a feud with, say, a Nick Aldis, even for the title. That's how good he is. I think that would be great. Maybe that's the guy that they bring in after Marty, know, to challenge for it. That would get a little bit of a pop. Man, with that, I think I'd love to see him in Impact. I think he'd make a, pardon the pun, an impact in Impact. I think I'd love to see him in Ring of Honor even. It's so tough to speculate with that dude, but there's got to be an NWA run with him. There has to be.
I can see him in NWA. I can see him maybe doing a little Japan, MLW.
Yeah, that's a promotion we haven't even talked about yet today. Is MLW. I think that's also a real logical spot for a lot of these guys too, to maybe sign a 1-year deal while they try to figure out what they're going to do.
Yeah. But this is also, I don't think, the last we've seen Heath in WWE.
Yeah, that's true. I think that all 3 members of Free MB have ended up being
released and
returned, right? So, and upon their returns, what has happened? Jinder Mahal, WWE champion. Drew McIntyre, WWE champion. Heath Slater, WWE champion.
Yeah.
Maybe not WWE champion, but I could see him with the Intercontinental belt in about 5 years.
And then in 15 years, we're inducting the 3 Live crew, or not 3 Live crew.
Wrong companies.
3-man band into the Hall of Fame.
The Free MB, the most prolific wrestling trio in history. Yeah, could you imagine? Just, oh my God. Ah, crap. Anyway.
Next, we have a guy who has a lot of struggles, and that's Lio Rush.
A little bit. I think that a lot of sheets are saying that he could go to AEW, and I think he would fit right in with AEW. I think obviously, if there's a rumored attitude issue with him, that might have to be addressed a little bit. But I think AEW would be a good spot for him to kind of mesh with some talent there and that stuff, and go for
You could see him with Darby and Jungle Boy and
that kind of group. Yeah. Basically, if they ever decide to do like a cruiserweight or a light heavyweight belt or something, maybe throw him in with that group and see.
He'd also be a fit with MLW because he came from MLW.
Yeah,
so
he'd go back to MLW too. I think both Impact and Ring of Honor are nuts if they don't send contract offers his way too.
He's very young. He's still very young.
Yeah, he could end up basically anywhere. And we might see him even in New Japan if they do a Best of the Super Juniors either this year or next, right? Well, maybe not this year, but next year for 2021. If he's still a free agent by then, we might see him do the Best of the Super Juniors over there. So, tons of upside, tons of potential for him. Most likely, if we see him catch on with AEW, not surprised.
Next, we have Sarah Logan.
Tough with Sarah. That whole Riot Squad separation was absolutely a terrible thing for a lot of people in that group. I honestly think they should have been together and got to ride out a face run as well as a trio. And they should have held the women's tag belts as well as a trio, and they never got a chance to, because I think that it would have been fun to see them act as a Riot Girls kind of create anarchy type group on either Raw or SmackDown, with the belts. Or even as a wild card, I would have demoted the 3 of them to NXT and have them as the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions on NXT. Just, that's better. That's their environment. Like, let Triple H just create creative for them out, whatever. But so Sarah got future endeavored. It's tough for her because her husband's still a push talent in WWE with the War Vikings, Viking Raiders. Whatever.
They're not really push though, but they're there.
Viking Raiders, yeah.
Yeah.
Viking Experience, whatever you want to call them.
Viking Express, Viking Bus,
the 305 Live or whatever. Yeah. So with her, man, she'll end up back. Obviously, if she wants to get back into the industry and wrestle, I think that she'll definitely be hitting up all the all-female promotions because she was doing that before. So you'll see her in Shimmer, you'll see her in Shine, you'll see her in Stardom in Japan, maybe if she goes over, and so on and so forth. As a permanent addition to AEW, maybe not as Sarah Logan. Maybe if they feel that the Crazy Mary Dobson character has some legs to it, they may bring her in as that. Which, if you haven't seen it, Moorhouse, it's basically a female version of Mankind.
Okay.
So that's what it was. Other than that, I don't think a major promotion, like any of the minor promotions, like a Ring of Honor, might sign her to do like a Women of Honor taping or something like that. But I mean, I think that I think it might be time just to go back and reinvent at this point. So.
Mm-hmm. And finally, we're at the biggest name of the list, and the guy who will be scooped up in a second, and that's Rusev.
Oh, Miro. If he doesn't end up in AEW, I will be disappointed. However, I think that if he was smart, he'd take this time and do he could be the biggest thing on the indies. And just do like a world tour of all these indies. It could be like Miro's awesome world tour or something like that. And just basically, he's Latka from Taxi. He just goes in and hi everybody, just because he's going to be the biggest babyface on any show that he's booked. There's no way you can turn him heel now at this point. I don't think. So,
no, and we know the true Rusev personality. He's just a goofy, fun-loving guy. He's not actually a serious guy at all.
So he goes and does that on the indies. Just make him this fun-loving dude that goes from indie to indie and just shows up once in a while. I want to see him in bar wrestling against Joey Ryan. I want to see him
House of Hardcore.
I want to see him PWG Battle Los Angeles against whoever the hot prospect is this year. I don't even know, Adam Brooks or whatever.
DDT.
DDT would be amazing. Yes. Take your time. Go do the indies thing. Whatever. Make yourself. Recreate. Let's just happy-go-lucky character and that stuff. Then you go into AEW and say, okay, enough playing around. It's Miro Day. Miro is going to crush. So that's what I'd love to see myself. I'd just take a year, go have fun, enjoy yourself. Once everything opens back up, just chill, be the dude. I mean, your wife's still bringing in the WWE paycheck, so if you want to travel, go take bookings wherever, and then finally, talk to AEW and say, hey, listen, this is what I've been doing the past year. Let's try and make something serious out of it. I wouldn't go to AEW right off the bat. So
you're thinking more like a Broken Hardy type thing where he toured around as the Broken Hardy character.
I think that, yes, definitely. I think that would be perfect for him. And I think, he's got so much swag, too, and that stuff that he could probably get some roles as the big beefy foreigner in some comedy movies in Hollywood too. So maybe he goes acting.
I can't believe you want him to do a Latka gimmick because that's.
I would love that. I would love that. That would be awesome.
I don't know if he would love it, but
just have him show up as a mystery participant at the Battle of Los Angeles or something like that. Just a super serious wrestling tournament. And he just walks out. Just hi everybody, and
what's his career? So he's a wrestling taxi driver. Okay.
It doesn't have to be that. Just this, this goofy foreigner. That's it. I want to see the YouTube series of Rusev Does America.
So you want him to be like the Raj Rougeaus, where he's an all-American boy.
Eventually, at the end, that would be awesome. Yes.
But he is kind of funny because he bought a house in Nashville. He has all of a sudden become a big Nashville Predator fan.
They have season tickets. Yes, they are. They are confirmed that I have friends in the industry and that stuff that have actually sat down and have had adult beverages with Miro and Lana at the games post game and that stuff, and they are just down to earth people.
Maybe you could do the farmer gimmick from Southpaw.
I'm gonna go back and rewatch that now. That's gonna be what I'm gonna watch tonight while I'm editing this. But yeah,
he bought your farm. He challenged you. What do you have to say about that? Yep.
Yep.